They're calling it the Great Wealth Transfer, a shift in the Canadian landscape worth nearly $900 billion by the end of 2026. But here's the part that isn't talked about enough. For the first time in history, the majority of that wealth is landing in the hands of women. I'm Danah MacDonald, Associate Financial Advisor with CI Asante Wealth Management. And today, on Generation Wealth, we're celebrating International Women's Day by doing more than just talking. I'm joined by Natasha Dowding, Financial Planning Advisor, and Jane Smith, Senior Financial Advisor. We're moving past perfection paralysis and the taboos that keep us from the table. In terms of bringing women into the conversation with that wealth beginning to transfer, 70% of women actually change advisors after their partner passes away. So I have a personal story with that. My grandparents worked with an advisor. When my grandfather passed away, my grandmother changed within a year.
Wow.
Because she just didn't have the rapport or the relationship with this advisor.
Yeah.
Him and my grandfather were exceptionally close. That's great, and that's a beautiful relationship in and of itself. But my grandmother was never really a part of that.
Yeah.
So you're also grieving, trying to figure out your finances, and now you're expected to sort of build trust with somebody. That's a bit too much going on all at once.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, perhaps it was also just sort of that sense that she now had control, and she wanted to exert some of that control.
All the power to you.
Right?
Shop around.
But because I said they are investing, and if you're not going to be available to them, you're kind of missing part of the market.
So in our office specifically, I think we have about 4 or 5 female advisors, and we get a lot of calls of people wanting to work specifically with women.
That's true. We do.
I am happy to benefit from those calls.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I think too, like, finances are such a personal thing. So, and actually we tell this to a lot of our prospects, is it's such a personal thing. You have to make sure that you have a good fit, a good rapport with the advisor that you're going to choose. And so if this person isn't doing it for you, much like for your grandmother, you have every right to go and look around, meet with multiple advisors before you make a decision. I think it's extremely important because this is somebody who you are trusting, and you need to be able to build that rapport with and that trusting relationship with. And I think that's extremely important.
Yeah, no, I think fit is very important, and unlike, say, in the perhaps in the medical field, where even if you don't like your doctor, you can't drop them because you can't find another one. There are other advisors.
Yeah.
So even if the person has a very good reputation and is a good advisor, if the fit isn't there, then it's not going to work for you.
So kind of back to that transfer of wealth into women's hands, we've seen a stat recently that women are living on average 3 years longer than men. So if they're not used to being a part of the conversation before that transfer of wealth, how then do we start to integrate them and make it a conversation that is both digestible, approachable, safe space?
I think one of the most staggering stats on top of that is that the average age of widowhood for women in Canada is actually 56.
It's crazy.
And to your point, like, there are a lot of women, we see when it comes to heterosexual couples, we see a lot of women and men come in together and the women take a back seat, or they just don't show up to these meetings. And I think that providing an environment for these women where they feel seen, they can ask questions, providing the education to them that they might need. And it doesn't have to be high level education. It can be very simple strategy, just,
It's building that trust. So,
absolutely, yeah.
One of my
And that
clients,
takes years in the
that
making.
takes
Oh my
years.
gosh.
Yeah.
So I had a couple client where he was significantly older than his spouse. And he said, all things being equal, you're going to be left with this money. And, I know it's not your thing, but I want you to be in these conversations and talking with Jane and understanding things so that when I'm gone, you will feel confident that she can carry on that relationship. And it worked that way. But he was a very thoughtful man that way.
Yeah.
And the age difference was fairly significant. And on average, do we not marry people who are a little bit older?
Yeah.
On average, we do. So you could fairly quickly have a space where even if it wasn't the stat of 56, where women can certainly have 10 years on their own.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. In terms of, we talked a little bit about perfection paralysis and really wanting to, women have this desire, speaking from personal experience, to know exactly what's going on before I even enter the room and start having the conversation. I don't want to be blindsided. I want to know what to ask, and I don't want to appear to not know what's going on.
Yeah.
With that perfection paralysis, let's talk a little bit about the mental load that it is of being a woman. Natasha has 2 beautiful little girls and a husband at home. She knows the mental load.
I do. Very well acquainted. I think it's more spoken about now than it ever has been, but that mental load or the invisible load, the idea of having to kind of pre-plan, to monitor, to anticipate all the things that, are invisible. So whether that's, if you have children, making sure that they have clothing to wear for the next season of the year, if you're working full time, trying to, and also maybe if you have children or, even if you just have a house that requires cleaning, kind of mentally thinking about that on an ongoing basis, and planning everything. And, do we have enough food for the dog? Or, a lot of women are tasked with these things. And it's not to say that there are not a lot of men out there that are extremely wonderful and take on some of that mental load as well. But I would say that the norm is that women tend to take all that on themselves. And also, there are a certain cohort of women that are part of this sandwich generation, right? So raising small children, but also have aging parents that they're also constantly thinking about, worrying about, and so on. So I think that in itself is probably a big reason as to why women are like, you know what? I don't have time or capacity to think about my finances. So take it away, somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Or bury it and let's not deal with it.
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because it's overwhelming. It is. I think as an advisor, what I would like to say to those women is, we've got you. We can carry that load for you, and we can make it so that you don't have to worry about that on top of all the things that you're already worrying about. But it does make a lot of sense that women, if they have a partner that takes care of the finances, that they would just say, okay, cool.
That's yours.
Just take it. Yeah.
But
absolutely.
they need to be involved at some level and take responsibility for their financial health.
Absolutely.
And we're there to be the coach and the assistant with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And women, I mean, not just women, but anybody, they take control of their physical health and their mental health, even more so now. So really your financial health isn't much different than that. And it doesn't take a lot to get to a point where you feel like you're more in control of that aspect of your life.
So you made a comment during your initial story of women tend to want a bit more information before they get started.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of bleeds into that perfection paralysis that
Yes.
we've talked about many times amongst ourselves.
People want information, and particularly women, they tend to want a bit more information before they get started.
Mm-hmm.
Men are, back in the day, were a little more impulsive. If somebody calls them, buy this, buy that, sell that, they'd do it. Women were more like, well, tell me a little bit more. But women will be more inclined to ask questions when it's just women around the table. If I were to give one piece of advice to anybody, it's just get started. And if it's not your thing, I guess one of the problems is that people will try to get too much information and you get that paralysis. And the way I sort of state it is, if you have a toothache and you go to the dentist, you don't sort of start researching what they ought to do. You just get started. So I would say with women, just get started, and don't be afraid to. We were just discussing this before. Sometimes these questionnaires tend to pigeonhole people into something that's almost too conservative.
Mm-hmm.
If you're investing a little bit of money for the long term, try to get something that's growth oriented. It might be something that you're able to do through work or on your own. Just start small and go from there. I should tell you a story about a client who I did receive through one of those investing courses. That actually was at the hospital, if you can believe it. And she had already started investing $25 a month into a particular mutual fund. She brought her investments over to me, but she continued to do that until she was able to take an early retirement at like 55. And I said, well, it's probably time that you start taking money out of that particular investment. So she went from putting $25 in. She probably had invested for about 20 to 21 years and started to take out $250 just from that one particular investment. And she's been doing that for over 30 years, and that one investment is worth $400,000.
Wow.
Amazing.
So people think you can't, your money, I don't have enough money, it'll never grow, I'm going to need so much money, what's the point? I'm going to live my life and hope. And hope, as we know, is not a great strategy. So it's just by way of saying it can work.
That's amazing. That's such a great story in terms of just getting started and letting time do the work for you.
Totally.
And the power of compounding.
The power of compounding.
Yeah. Just to Jane's point about getting started. Again, you don't need to have all the money in the world to be an investor. You can start small and let that grow and continue to put money into an account a tiny bit, $25 a month. I mean, that's pretty remarkable that grew to
Yes.
what it is now. And she was able to retire and take the money out of that one particular mutual fund. I'm sure she put money into others as well.
Yes, she did.
So at the end of the day, it's really never too late to start. Time in the market is what is your friend when it comes to investing.
Because really, that is the other side of it. Sometimes people say, well, it's too late. No, it's not too late.
Yeah.
You may have to put a bit more aside.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's never too early and it's never too late. Just bite the bullet and get started.
Sometimes too, around women especially, there might be a narrative around the fact that maybe they have tried to do this in the past and something went wrong. Either they made the wrong decision, they didn't make a decision, or they allowed somebody else to make a decision for them and it went poorly. Mm-hmm. And so now they've got this shame feeling, they feel paralyzed. Again, not the perfection paralysis, but just, they don't feel like they can kind of get beyond that. But at the end of the day, kind of helping yourself get educated by speaking to an advisor, just increasing your knowledge base about how you should be, even where you should be putting your investment money. You can really turn a situation around and still get yourself in a good position for your retirement, even if you feel like that has happened before.
That's one of obviously the key values of having an advisor with whom you feel comfortable talking, because maybe you've had poor experiences or whatever the case. This person, you shouldn't be doing it alone. One of the things that we know is that women have interrupted careers to have children, and now there are sort of extended leaves, which is great, but so it can be very easy, I think, for women not to take advantage of some employer plans that may be available. I mean, if it's a pension, you're in it, but not as many people are in pension plans anymore.
Yeah. Right.
But there could very well be RRSP matching plans, 4% matched by 4, and somebody, female might say, well, I kind of can't afford that. I've just taken a year off and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no. You absolutely have to take advantage of it. And the 4% that your employer is giving you is in essence free money.
Yeah.
If you do need that money, it is an RRSP. You could get, you can collapse some of it if you had to, but you've got a gap already of the years. It's going to give you a gap in your pay structure. That is one of the ways that you can help narrow that gap.
Absolutely. It's free money and it's part of your compensation.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
You have to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
And at first it does bite a little bit to say, okay, here's 4% of my pay back.
Yes.
But once you see the other 4% come in from your employer matching, it really starts to click and make sense. So what happens with that $900 billion inheritance? That's a great check.
That's huge. I'll take it.
What happens if there's no written will or estate plan in place? What do you do?
I mean, you get get to work.
You have $900 billion.
I mean, okay. So first of all, like estate planning is extremely important. Okay. Having an updated will, very important. It's one of those things, and not just to go to, the same lawyer who has signed your,
real estate transaction.
Exactly. An estate lawyer, like this is their bread and butter. They will find the nuances. They will find all those tiny little details that you wouldn't think about when it comes to your estate. And they will make sure that everything is exactly the way that you want it. I think that's the most important thing when it comes to this. So first and foremost, make sure that your will is up to date, and that you know what you have for assets and where they all are as well. And speaking to a financial advisor can help you also to figure out how to plan your estate properly, the most tax efficient way to do things. If you consolidate your assets with one financial advisor, it's a much easier way to generate a picture of your wealth and of your estate on a go-forward basis. So I think that's also something, and that's important. A lot of people, I think it's kind of interesting. I've heard a lot of people talk about diversifying their advisors. So they'll have a little bit of money here, a little bit of money there. But at the end of the day, that really doesn't do you any service. That kind of makes your estate plan very disjointed, and your investment plan very disjointed. So I think that's one way of trying to simplify things for your life, and getting your estate in order would be to consolidate your investments at one place. And then also, again, to have that will and your plan. And
definitely, because if you're diversifying by advisor, you could very well end up having a concentration issue.
Absolutely.
Without knowing
Easily.
it. So if you don't trust that advisor, then you shouldn't be with them. And at some point, you sort of have to pick. But I can't agree more on the estate lawyer. It's important, and we can help the clients prepare for that meeting. And it's like building a house. I think you tell them, you don't have to get in the nitty gritty. You tell them what you're hoping the outcome is, and they're the ones that put the language together.
And you also want to make it as efficient as possible for your beneficiaries. So if you have accounts everywhere, that is a nightmare.
It is.
And not only that, we've done a lot of estate planning where we meet the next generation. They know who we are, they know we can help, and they know who to call when stuff starts to decline or change.
Yes.
Right? So it's just bridging that gap automatically between generations, so they're not left standing there holding the bag that doesn't have $900 billion in it, wondering what to do.
Yeah.
It's really a family affair.
Yes.
And setting the expectations on the will is good. We do not want to contest the will. So if a listener only has 15 minutes this afternoon to focus on her finances, what is the one high-level move she should make first?
She wants to get started. So what does that look like for her? I think if she has not does not yet have a financial advisor, then maybe she should take the time this afternoon to see if she could research who she would like to talk to about getting started, because getting started is what it's all about.
I like that answer.
Yes, girl.
Go, girl. What is one thing that you hope is different for the next generation based on the work that we're doing today?
I hope that the next generation of even females can feel confident and comfortable to ask questions, to put themselves at the table, to believe that they deserve a seat at the table, and to gather as much information and knowledge as they can about their own personal finances.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of, I hope that they just see it as, well, of course.
Yes, exactly.
Of course I'm here.
Why wouldn't I be?
Why
Where
wouldn't I be
else
here?
would I be?
I've got a job. I need to save. And so I need a financial advisor, that they don't even think twice about it. I guess that's maybe the difference from one generation to the next. That'd be awesome.
I love that. Be a disruptor.
There it is.
Perfect.
I love it. We know you're busy. We all are. But we don't want too busy to be the reason you miss out on your 900 billion moment. That's why we created the Financially Fearless Power Hour. It breaks down everything we talked about today into 4 15-minute blocks. Whether it's finding your free money or auditing your legacy documents, you can take control of your future in the time it takes to eat lunch. Download it at the link below and move from passenger to pilot today.